Season 11's here, and these are some of the new gadget and weapon patch notes that we have. The APS system has gotten a buff. It can now block 6 projectiles instead of 5, and its health also got an increase, going from 160 all the way up to 175. They also added the ability to remotely retrieve the APS system and also like hand retrieve. And now you can also like grab it normally as well, so you don't have to just wait on cooldown for like 40 seconds to use the APS system. The breach charge also got a small tiny buff. When it's deployed, its arm time has now been increased from 1.5 seconds to now 1 second, so it's a lot faster to use and deploy, so that's pretty good for cash out stalls, I think. So that's pretty cool. Next, the data reshaper got a huge change. The data reshaper can now reshape gateways, so you might be seeing that happen to your gateways in some games now. In some possibly ranked games, I don't know if any of these were going to be put into ranked, I don't know. And then the Hoverpad also got a buff, its health going from 320 health to now 425. So you can last a little bit longer on that Hoverpad without going down, which is a pretty good change. Next, we got the weapon buffs and nerfs because gadgets didn't really have much change to them. The Dagger's normal swing attack has been put to 60 damage, and from what I found out, either if you sweep to the left or to the right, there is no damage change. It is consistently 60 damage. When you swing, your movement speed has also been decreased, so you're a lot slower when you're like running around and swinging your dagger. So that's a pretty decent change. So now you won't have a dagger all up in your face trying to murder you, so that's pretty good. They also made the backstab radius a little bit smaller and a little bit of a tighter angle as well, so you have to be more precise when you're about to do a backstab. So that's also pretty cool. That's pretty decent. I don't know. I never had any big issues with dagger backstabs, but this could also make it so you aim a little bit better because this is melee rework. And I also made a video on melee rework if you want to go check that out right there in the top right corner, so that's pretty cool. The charge time for dagger has also been decreased, going from 0.8 seconds to now 0.65 seconds. So that's amazing if you're like a speedrunner or if you speedrun on the finals, which is something I do. So this is pretty helpful. So that's awesome. That's pretty cool. I like that. Next up, we got the dual blades. The dual blades has gotten a change, so it's melee charge. Wait, the dual blades primary is now 2 swings instead of 3, so you don't have that last cross attack at the end. And that third attack is now usable for like a cross slash type of attack, and you can only really access that when you're blocking your swords, like in the video right here. I think you can see that. I don't know. I think you can see that. It also does 100 damage as well, so that's really good. Dual blade's precise angle for maximum damage is set to 9 degrees. Wait, whatever. Movement speed has been decreased by 50% when you're deflecting bullets, so when you're moving around and getting shot at while you're blocking bullets, you'll be slower. And to add on to that, when you are deflecting and getting shot at, you will take more damage, as the multiplier for damage taken has increased, going from 0.1 multiplier to a 0.2 multiplier. So while you're blocking, you will take more damage, essentially. Next up, the Riot Shield has gotten a really big change, and I think we're going to be seeing this in the meta, just because Riot Shield was already pretty good, and now it's getting a really big buff. So movement speed, so here's not, it got a lot of good changes, pretty much. The movement speed while blocking has been slowed, so you're a little bit slower when the shield is up and you're blocking bullets. The bullet blocking with Riot Shield has been increased, so your hitbox is a little bit, so your Riot Shield hitbox is a little bit bigger, so you can deflect more bullets. So like you're completely covered now. Also the Riot Shield's base damage is now 57, and now for a precise swing, it is now 82 damage. They decreased the lunge angle, so you have to aim more when you're swinging as well, but they did that for everything. And now the Riot Shield has a really good change. It now has a bash attack. This bash attack has a small period that you lunge that is around 2 meters, and the bash attack deals around 2.5 bars of damage, and it also pushes enemies 5 meters away from you. So this ability is pretty much to create breathing room for yourself, or you can just bully any player, you know, if you continuously hit them with the bash attack, which is pretty funny. The Sledge Hammer has gotten a change as well, like every other melee in this game, but now its base damage is now set to 90 damage, and precise hits go for up to 120 damage, and that is for normal swings, by the way, so yikes. The launch has increased for the Sledge Hammer, going from 4.5 meters to now 5 meters. The secondary swing on the Sledge Hammer does now 150 damage, and for a precise swing, it does around 200 damage. So you can still one-tap lights, and I couldn't get the 200 damage because I think I was missing, but for mediums, you can also possibly one-tap mediums if you're very precise with your swing. Next up, the spear. For the spear, they removed the first attack animation, so now it's a 3-attack animation sequence. So for the spear, if you right-click, it's now considered 1 swing attack, so you'll only do 1 spin. Unlike how you used to be able to do 3 spins without stopping, but now you can only do 1 spin. Unless you hit an enemy, then you can do another spin, and if you keep hitting them, you can continuously keep spinning, which is pretty cool. I think that's awesome, but of course, you can control how many spins you do. So if you want to hit the enemy twice, like if you could hit the enemy twice, you could stop the spin after the second swing instead of going into a third one. So then you can get like a kick and then like a stab with the spear. But, you know, that's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. The spear's base damage is now set to 55 damage. And then its precise hit is now 74. They decreased the lunge of the spear, going from 7.5 meters to now 5 meters. The spear's old spin always did a consistent 100 damage per spin, so you could like easily kill lights and mediums like instantly almost. And now the new spin does an attack sequence in 3. So the first spin does around 75 damage, second spin does 100, and the third one does 126. The first spin's duration lasts 0.8 seconds, the second spin lasts 0.75 seconds, and the third spin lasts 1.1 seconds. They did this so you can easily cancel an animation when you are spinning. So you could like spin and then do an attack and then do another spin if you didn't miss those attacks or spins. So you can constantly just be in like this really good attack loop. But Spear is just been getting freaking murdered. It's just been getting nerfed recently, dude. Like, Spear's not having a good time at all, and I don't think we're going to be seeing this in ranked as we used to. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it in ranked, but I've seen it a lot in ranked, but I don't know. That's just platinum lobbies. That's just high platinum, low diamond lobbies, so I have no idea. Next up, the sword. The sword's stamina bar at the bottom matters with when you can do your secondary attack, so I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, the sword's base damage is now set to 71, and its precise hits are now 110 damage. They also increased the lunge distance, going from 3 meters to 4.25 meters, and they decreased the lunge target angle as well. I don't want to talk about angles, actually. Guys, can we not talk about the angles, please? I don't like talking about them. They're very dumb to me. So the sword now requires to have that stamina bar filled up all the way just so you could do a lunge. So I think that's a really weird change. I think that's a really bad change. I'm not gonna lie. And even when you do a dash, I mean, while you're out of stamina, it like barely moves you when you do the sword. So that's, I don't know. I think this is bad. This is really bad for sword users. Sword is not having a good time at all right now. Maybe they'll find a way around it. Maybe sword could find its way around the meta and stuff. I can really only hope, dude. The lunge distance without stamina is set to around 5 meters, so barely any distance. You barely go anywhere. And the lunge distance with stamina has gone to 10 meters, so you go way farther than you used to, but you have that downside of not having the full stamina bar because that takes around 2 seconds to regenerate. They decreased the rotational clamping of the lunge attack. So what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. Clamping. Anyway, specializations that have gotten a change are now the cloaking device has gotten a change. It's got a nerf. So the minimum cloak duration has gone from 13 seconds to now 11 seconds. They switched the energy consumption from a linear to discrete. So energy is now consumed at the minimum possible rate when you are like moving really slow. So if you're running around, your cloak is going to be used a lot more like how it used to be, but it's going to be consumed, I think, a lot. So now the cloak is going to be, they said they see it as like a hide and seek type of playstyle. So you can't just run in there cloaked and still be cloaked. You just have like lower cloak duration pretty much. Pretty much just nerfed it. So like if you're moving around a lot with cloak, like running and jumping and everything, you're gonna be losing your cloak uptime a lot more than if you were to just stay still and be crouch walking. That makes the cloak last a lot longer. The next big change that we got is evasive dash. The dash ability has gotten a massive nerf. So instead of it having 3 dashes, it is now 2 dashes, and the cooldown is now from 7.5 seconds to 6.5, and that's pretty much it. They didn't lower how far you can dash. They didn't lower any of that. They just lowered how many the number of charges you have for the dash, and they decreased the cooldown to complement the amount of time that for the amount of dashes that you have. But besides that, I don't think we're going to be seeing dash in ranked anymore just because of this big old nerf. So have fun. I don't know. I feel bad for those lights out there. Not too bad because I hate dash. Winch Claw has gotten a minimum stun duration going from 0.25 seconds to 0.1 seconds. They decreased how soon the user can act after grabbing a player. So the Winch Claw, so like if you winch someone, you're pretty much going to be doing your action a lot slower than if you were than you were before. So now Winch Claw's been nerfed as well. That's pretty good. That's pretty bad for Winch Claw users. And then here are the weapon changes, so like guns and everything. So the Deagles have gotten a buff, so it's going from 44 damage to now 46. So I think the Deagles are going to be seen in ranked a lot more with that high DPS that they got, or with the high damage they got. That's pretty cool. The R93 has gotten a nerf. They decreased the damage going from 25 to now 24, and they increased the ammo count from 21 to all the way to 27. So you have a bigger magazine and you do less damage with the R93. And they did this because R93 was extremely strong and it was just really good. And I think that's true. It was really good. Anyway, to the mediums weapons. Next up, we got the Fcar. They decreased the fire rate from the Fcar going from 540 RPM to now 530 RPM. So it's a little bit slower, but they did this because the Fcar was like extremely good and everyone was using it. So I don't know. Fcar was like freaking nuts back then. It would just shred lights and it would just shred mediums from like a really far distance because of its rate of fire. But this nerf is pretty, I think it's well needed. Maybe we'll see a lot more different weapons than just the Fcar. Maybe we'll see my favorite, maybe we'll see like, I don't know, a really good weapon like the FAMAS. Like maybe we'll see the FAMAS in ranked a lot more because FAMAS is great. But yeah, I'm glad I'm pretty happy why the Fcar got a nerf, because now as a light you won't get murdered instantly by like a double Fcar, like two mediums running Fcar and just get murdered. So that's pretty cool. So you won't get murdered by two mediums using Fcar. So that's pretty cool. The KS-23 has gotten a buff, and its damage has gone from 100 damage to now 110 damage. So that's pretty good. Although they did decrease the fall off multiplier, so the weapon does less damage when you're shooting like really far away. But they did this. I think this is a pretty good change. We might see a butt ton more heavies using the KS-23 due to this high DPS. And if you have if your team is running, like you're running KS-23 and you have like a light running M11 or XP-54 and you have a medium running like Fcar, you guys could just murder teams like instantly, as long as you hit those shots. If you don't hit those shots, you're not murdering anybody. You're just murdering your own team. But besides that, you know, it's fine. The minigun has gotten a buff as well, so they decreased the dispersion in all aim states. So whether if you're ADS'd or not, the dispersion has gotten smaller. So when you're shooting, your bullets are just going to be in like a smaller, tighter circle than they were before. So that's pretty good. They also decreased how aggressively the dispersion scales up. Okay, they also increased environmental damage that you do with the minigun, going from 30 environmental damage to now 35. So you could break things a lot quicker with the minigun. So it's like a KS-23 if you can't aim, pretty much. But me personally, the minigun is like the M11 to me. I don't like it. This is not going to be a fun time when you're going to fight a minigun. So I don't know. If you like minigun, have fun. If you don't, that sucks. Too bad. Next weapon, please. The model 1887 has gotten a buff as well. So they do the same thing like every other season. They just increase the pellet damage, going from 12 to 13. So, you know, maybe that's gonna... I don't really see this being used in ranked, especially on the new map, because there's a lot of range on that map, but I don't know. Because it's like, it isn't changing much, so I can't really say. Anyway, the Pike 556 has gotten a buff as well. They increased the headshot multiplier from 1.5 to now 1.75, so it does a lot more damage. So all they did was just bump up the headshot multiplier and not anything else, because the Pike, you know, it used to be like super overpowered in like ranked, and then it would be super not overpowered to just be really weak. You'd be shooting spitballs at people, and now you're just lobbing rocks at people with the Pike. But now it's just a multiplier for headshot damage, which is pretty decent. And yeah, not a lot of big changes for weapons, I'm not gonna lie. Mainly just melee, because it is a melee re-rig season, and if you guys didn't see a melee re-rig video, I highly recommend watching this video right here in the top right corner. I'm also putting it on the screen. This video is really good. I think it's a great video. I'm very biased about it, of course, but you know, it's a pretty decent video. I think you should go check that out. But anyway, guys, that's about it for this video. That's all the weapon, gadgets, and specialization changes that have been implemented into the finals in season 11. Let me know if you guys enjoyed these changes or not in the new season of the finals. And if you did enjoy this video, leave a thumbs up, and if you didn't, leave a thumbs down. You can check the Twitch out in the description. You can also check out my Discord, which is also in the description, where you can get updates on videos that are coming out and other news as well. And then of course you guys can subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that helps me out a lot. But besides that, I hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys later.